And
Okay. We're rolling. Where were you born?
I was born at home. I want to be close to my mother.
Yeah, there you go.
It worked.
What part of the country was your mother in when you were
Well, I was
born?
born in Honey Grove, Texas. Just out of Honey Grove. Lived there till I was 6, and I come to Denison.
When was that?
That was in 1938, and we come to Denison in 44, and I grew up here, but after we got married, we traveled the world. You know, we went everywhere, and
Where are some of the places you went?
well, we went to Vienna, Austria,
San Francisco.
Grand Bahamas, and we was going
Palm
to
Springs,
Greece.
San Antonio.
We was going to Greece, but you know, when Jimmy Carter was president and they captured all them people,
Mm-hmm.
and they changed us to San Francisco. But when we went to
Vienna, Austria.
what?
Vienna, Austria.
When we went to Vienna, Austria,
Just having
the
some
day
kind of
before
trouble.
we left, they were right beside us at that hotel, and they come to our hotel and stood with guns. We never did find out what happened.
The
but it was
embassy
during
was
that
right
time.
next to the hotel where we stayed.
Oh, wow.
And we thought it had something to do with that Jimmy Carter thing, you know.
Oh, okay.
And but we got out of there.
Well, what were y'all doing? Were you doing mission work or?
No, we just traveling the world.
You just-
He
I
won
was
them
in-
trips at insurance.
Oh.
I was winning 3 or 4 trips a year, and we was gone half every
So
year.
you were a super salesman.
Yeah, I was in the top 4 or 5 in the
Right.
state of Texas.
Right. Well, did you ever go to Bible school or seminary?
Oh yeah, mine was in Church of God, Cleveland, Tennessee.
Okay.
Yeah, I took all of their things, you know, and
That was the
college.
whole thing though, in Tennessee.
The what?
Everybody went there once a year, didn't they?
Oh no, that was the General Assembly.
Yeah.
We had a big General Assembly, you know. They come from.
But was it kind of like a seminary?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we called it the General Assembly, and people was there.
Right.
But they still do the same thing in this church over
One of
here.
his friends, our friends, wanted to go up in the Smoky Mountains. Bill Ryan said, "Well, how long does it take?" And he said, "Well, it won't take long. It took nearly all day."
Oh my goodness.
Did you know that
Right straight up.
we was down there and stood on 4 United States?
Oh,
There's a place
state,
that comes
different
together.
states.
I forget what's
Yeah.
down there, Alabama or
Well, that's cool.
Georgia,
uh,
wasn't it Georgia and Alabama and
Tennessee,
So did you ever have a church or did you ever do any mission work or?
everywhere. I had one in Mount Pleasant, Texas.
Oh yeah, I know where
I
that.
had one down at Pittsburgh, and I was going to Palacios or Port Lavaca one, and
Port
we
Lavaca.
changed and stayed and went to Pittsburgh, and then I come up here and started one. It's still going over there on.
So you weren't working were you working pastor full time or were you still doing the insurance or was
I was
it?
doing everything. I was running 3 radio stations.
Oh yeah.
And I was in the ICGMA, you know.
Mm.
And in '77, I created that Texoma music one, and it's still going too, and it's 40-something years old. But the ICGMA is 60-something years. When it was 60 years old, I had been gone since 2014, No, 2004. And I told him, I said, I'm never gonna bother y'all. I said, it's yours now. And it's still going good. And it's in Branson, Missouri now, or West Plains, Missouri. And in 2016, when that was the 60th year, the president called me and he demanded that I be there
Wow.
because that was the 60th anniversary. And boy, they treated me like a movie star. And I got up there and got standing ovation and everything.
Wow.
And I promised them every year since that I was coming back, but I hadn't. And well, really, when that COVID come in, nobody went anywhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they just had it on the TV station. See, they put it on TV every year.
Yeah.
And they wasn't hardly nobody there because you couldn't go nowhere. And they had some of the big stars like Barbara Fairchild, you know, the big, and Margot Smith and Holly.
About what year was all that going on?
60.
Okay.
And they, but you know, back in our day, we had Willie Nelson, we had Billy Walker, all the Grand Ole Opry stars was coming to Dallas, because that's where we had it, in Dallas every year. And we had it up here one time, and had it in Oklahoma once, and I don't know where else, but we usually wound up in Dallas. And I just resigned one day. Y'all have to excuse me because I got a tumor and it makes me have hiccups.
Oh yeah.
Smashing your diaphragm.
Yeah, and them suckers is about to bump me off.
Before I get too far away, I kind of jumped around a little bit, but did you have siblings?
Got what?
Do you have brothers and sisters growing up?
Oh,
I just had one sister.
I
One
had
sister.
3 brothers that died at birth.
Oh wow.
And then I had a sister, and she died in 1985.
Okay.
We was in a church, you know that song we sang? She sang it, it's called My Journey's On.
Yeah.
She was up singing that thing and had a stroke.
Oh my goodness.
And I was playing piano for her. And she dropped her microphone, and when she dropped her microphone, she just looked at me and said, boy, that is the
Embarrassing.
most embarrassing thing I've ever done. And just as she said that, her daughter was already on stage, because her daughter seen something that nobody seen.
What's going on?
And her daughter was on stage, and she just laid her hand on her and kind of went down and died. She was 49.
Wow.
Yeah, we had spent all day together up there and was having a great time. She had a stroke and died.
Cerebral hemorrhage.
And where did you say that was at? Where was that?
That was up at
Coleman?
Coleman, Oklahoma.
Okay.
And they brought her to Denison. She's already dead. They brought her, that was on a Saturday night. They brought her to Denison, and then they took her back to Oklahoma, and the Oklahoma guy wouldn't sign her death certificate, and the one in Texas wouldn't do it because he said she was already dead when she got here.
Wow.
And we like they never got it, and they got her death a month off. She died on
That's
May.
crazy.
I
That's
think
crazy.
they put her down June or something.
Well, I think I moved from Fort Worth up to North Texas in about 79 or 80.
79.
But did I meet you once? Because
Right.
I was living in Gainesville, then I'd moved to Whitesboro, and I don't remember.
We was down there at Verner Lee's place.
Oh, Silver Helmet.
Yeah, and you know we had Johnny and Bob and
Right.
a whole
Okay.
bunch of and me and you was there too, and Benny, and me, I was walking across somewhere there, and we met. Me and you met there, and I told you that you know, I was a pretty piano player, but I said I'm gonna quit playing piano, and you're gonna be it for me.
Was Benny your cousin?
Yeah.
His cousin Benny Holcomb was the most phenomenal steel player you've ever heard in your life.
He was.
He
was
played with Loretta Lynn, right?
Yeah, and Jerry Lee Lewis, and
Yeah.
you name them.
He was just
Gene
amazing.
Watson. he was playing with Gene Watson in Tennessee, and they were coming back, and he didn't want to ride in them buses, and he rode in his own car, and Gene had some friends down there, and he got in the car with them, and they come and had a crash right out of Nashville, I think, and you remember that great guitar picker from Bonham, or no, Paris, was just like old Jack Brown. He's playing lead for Gene Watson that night, and he killed his brother. And then the guitar picker come home. About 2 weeks later, he died.
Well, I knew a Tarpley in Bonham. Tarpley, do you remember him?
Oh
I
yeah.
think he was a steel player, maybe, or something.
Oh,
He had a TV shop.
huh?
He had a television shop
Yeah, I don't know.
down on Main Street.
I don't remember what happened to him.
But
Well, I mean, they're all gone.
well, when did you start having your? He used to have these shows, award shows.
Oh,
and,
well, we started them way back in the 60s and
okay.
50s and 60s, but it got real big, you know, in the 1970s.
Mhm.
It started just going out, and they come from all over the world.
Oh, there was fill up auditoriums with.
Yeah, we called it the International Country Gospel Music Association, and I'm the last founder of
Mary
that.
Faye's over it now.
There was about 4 of us, and
Right.
Brother Thompson. His name was Billy Thompson, and I was Billy Holcomb, and we decided it was created by Billy Holcomb and W. Lindsay Thompson. His name was William, but he was called Bill, like I was. And we just changed it like that, and it's going on today. 1956, and
Wow.
we had Dr. Joe Price and Joe Paul Nichols, and God, it's had every big star. You know, Jody Miller just died. She was one of our real good ones. You know, she was a Grammy Award leader. But I just hit it off with them. I don't know why.
Mhm.
And I was real strict, you know, on that ICGMA. And when somebody got out of order, I went and talked to them. You know, I wouldn't let them have
Right.
fusses in there. And that's why I went back in 1960. You remember old Marvell? He was an old-time country singer. And, they had big hits back in the 50s and 60s. Well, he came, and he won the top award one year, you know. And
Did Bobby know that guy that was real funny and then he shot himself?
yeah, that was old Punkintown Smith.
He
And
was so funny.
yeah, we had some big stars, and you know, like Reba McEntire's sister and
Susie.
old Pate.
Yeah, I
He played
remember
with
seeing.
them.
Oh, we remember Southern Sky Backpaid for a while.
Yeah,
In fact, we went to that national rodeo final and did the warm up for her. That's the first time I'd ever met Reba.
yeah.
But But he was strict.
I first met her out there at TMC. She come there one day, you know, she was there for that night thing that she used to have here every year. And I asked her, was she planning on making a gospel album? And she said, yeah. And I think she did make some good songs.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, right after that airplane crash killed all her musicians.
Well, we had met that band because the National Rodeo Finals was before that, and we'd met those guys and kind of hung out with them a little bit. Really, really nice guys, and we were kind of envious. Well, what's it like to be she wasn't national yet. She was local, you know, Texas, Arkansas. And they said, well, it's not as glamorous as you think. said Reba gets the hotel rooms, and, you know, but that's the way it is. And we sleep on the bus a lot. But he says it depends on the contract. Sometimes we'll get rooms and stuff. But they weren't making that. They were making okay money. But they weren't making any more than we were, but, you know, they were on a salary, in other words. So she took
we actually made more money staying home and playing in the
bars
me.
Me.
Than we did traveling.
Yeah.
Make good money traveling.
You know,
we
through the
spent
years,
everything.
I used the same guys. I had Luther on steel, or Louis Holford on steel, and Benny, we grew up as brothers. We grew up in the same house, but we was really cousins. But we was always, everybody thought we was brothers. And Bobby, I'd use him, and Buddy Yockey, and Francis Reagan, and Lou.
It was Williams back then,
Lou Heron.
Lauren Heron, yeah.
Yeah.
She was Williams, and then she was.
And
Heron.
he played with her in a band called
Southern Sky.
What was that?
Southern Sky.
Yeah, Southern Sky.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they were the top winners in 1981.
Yeah.
Or somewhere.
We won some stuff. We won the Wrangler Country Showdown.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And we got to go to Dallas Palace and did a.
Boy, that was a good band.
That was a good band. We had Rick Hood. I don't know if you know him.
Whatever happened to old Rick?
Somebody said that he got to where he couldn't drive at night.
Oh.
And I don't know what, but he was playing all around. He played that Commander Cody and the Lost Planet Airmen.
Yeah.
He played steel for them, and they borrowed my keyboard because they played Loose Wheels, and they borrowed my keyboard to play there, and then took it to Austin, and then brought it back. I was a little nervous about that because Commander Cody, boy, plays hard, you know. But there's something real important I want to ask, and I'm jumping around. But when did you feel like you were saved?
1969.
Okay.
1965.
And how did that happen?
I got saved when I was a little old bitty boy.
Okay.
You know, because they'd have altar calls, and it'd scare you to death, and you'd know you wasn't even going to be alive tomorrow if you didn't go down.
It scared the hell out of you. Scared the hell out of you.
Yeah, we finally got saved every year, you know.
Whether you needed it or not. So when you went the first time when you were a little boy, you were 10 or 12 or leaving?
No, the first time I remember church is when I was 4 years old.
Oh, goodness.
And I just remembered it, and I remember it was outside at an old revival, and that's about all I remember. And I went to sleep on the front seat, but I accepted the Lord, Dad, and I never did go back, you know, because it just went in here, you know. And even when we was playing and things, we'd, me and Benny had always fighting.
Right.
But then we'd ride home together and be friends time we got home.
When did you feel a Jesus in your heart to the point that it was a change of heart or justified?
That was 1965.
Okay.
Because the Bible said, search the deep things of God. And I said, I'm going to do that. And I got to looking, and I'd go down in there, in that Bible, and I'd start opening up. I never did quit the Bible. And the way I got interested in the Bible was the heroes of the Bible. I got interested when I was in the second grade. I had to write a story about somebody. And I wrote a little story about Davy Crockett. And then when I got into the Bible, I come into to Samson and Delilah, and I learned everything I could about Samson. I learned everything I could about the Apostle Paul, and I learned everything I could about King David, because his life just patterned Trump's life. Because the first day he became king, the Jewish people were already King, I can't remember his name right now. He sent out, he's the one who started baby killing because he knew Jesus was the Messiah. But see, back in the days of King David, the first day he became king, boy, they started plotting to get rid of him. And he just become my favorite, King David. And I would learn everything I could about him. And I just kept on till, I just knew all of them.
When was that, when was the first, I remember the radio station over in Sherman.
Yeah.
What was it called? KJIM.
KGM, yeah.
Keep Jesus in you.
Woodland Country Club.
Keeping Jesus in music.
In music, yeah.
Yeah, what happened on that, we were a country station, and we was playing a kind of pop music, and we moved to Sherman, and I took over there. And when I did, there was a woman told me, I see you on a gospel station. Well, we started that and called it KJIM, Keeping Jesus in Music. And we kept it in music. And then we got that big station at KWSM, and we played oldie music, like Fats Domino and Jerry Lee Lewis and stuff like that. And then we got the other, and it was a country station called KTCY. It was country. And we put them in different rooms out there, and just had our crew come in and do their shows, And I had a preacher. He's down in the South now. He come in and played gospel music, and then he'd go over on KWSM and play pop music, and he just changed his name, called himself something else.
Excuse me.
And he was really good at it. And then I just had people coming in wanting to be on it. I didn't pay them nothing. They was on there. And but that gospel station, boy, it took off. And one day Wendy told me, he said, I want to change KWSM to a gospel station. And I said, well, we will if you want to. So I went in there and just changed the format and made it a gospel station. Well, I had thousands and thousands of people listening to that old music, like Fats Domino and Jerry Lee Lewis and Elvis. And one called me one day, boy, he was hurt. And he called me the next day and said, what are y'all doing out there? Said, and he told me how much he missed that. And I said, well, when you hang up, it'll be back on. And I went in there and I changed it. I said, we're going back to our mat. And I told Wendy come in there and asked me why I done it. I said, I am here for all of the people, not just part of the people. And I said, if they want this is what they're gonna get. And boy, I was there a long time. And I could still be there today. But I just, one Friday night I went out there, and on Tuesday we closed the gospel station. I said, I just wore out. And I played Walt Mills' Everything's Gonna Be All Right, and turned it off. That Friday night out there, I was out there by myself, and we still had the oldies station on, but I had already got rid of the other two, and they were just off the air. And I was sitting out there, and I said, doggone, I said, here I am playing the old rock and roll. And I said, I was out here for the gospel station. I just went on there and told them I was going off the air. It's still off the air today.
Wow.
They, somebody else got the line, you know.
Right.
Yeah, they even tore down the old station.
And I remember where it used to be.
Where did it used to be?
Downtown, it was downtown Sherman.
Where the Sheridan,
Travis Street, wasn't it?
where the Sheridan Mall was.
Oh, it was over there?
RV was right across
Oh,
the street.
okay. I'm thinking about something different, yeah.
And then the old KJIM,
That's the one.
it's still out there.
Woodlands, across
Yeah.
the street, no Woodlands, yeah.
Yeah, right off, you just go off
There's a
there.
golf course in front of it.
They closed the golf course down. They closed the golf course down. They're gonna destroy the Woodlands Country Club. They're gonna put houses all up through there.
Wow.
I think the station is still there.
Still there, station's still
Yeah.
there, still
Yeah.
operating.
Yeah,
Now
we
listen.
sold that in,
Well, that man that owned it all passed away, didn't he?
yeah, they're all gone. But
What was that man's name that run it, told to stay drunk all the time?
that's Larry Henderson.
Yeah.
He was-
He'd called me to go get him some liquor, 'cause he couldn't get it. They wouldn't sell it to him. He'd say,
That's
Mildred,
right.
would you go to the liquor store and get me, he'd tell me what to get, 2 pieces of beer,
I went
a
to,
bottle of whatever it was.
Whiskey or some sort.
I went to Kroger one day from out there, and he wanted me to get him some booze. And when I did, I just put the booze on the counter, you know, there, and laid it, and I turned around and I saw some church people.
Oh,
And I said, doggone, and I hid that and didn't get it, but they had already seen it. And you know, that's when Loretta
It wouldn't bother me.
worked out there. And I went in there, she was in there working somewhere, and I said, I'm gonna run down here at the store and get Larry some booze. And she said, yeah. I said, those church members had seen me at Kroger. She said, they told me that. And she said, I told them I didn't think Billy drank.
right, you're getting it for.
And I said, well, why didn't you tell me? She didn't say nothing to me about it till I mentioned it to her.
That's
But
funny.
you could see old Larry, I had a preacher go down there with me one time, and when he left, he had Larry's whiskey bottle sticking out his back pocket. But if you went to the store, Larry wanted you to bring him something back.
That's funny. Funny. How many of those albums do you think you made? I know we made that one gospel album that I was on with was the greatness of God was on it, I guess, and
Well, we made,
was it Polero?
we made a bunch of them things. About 25 or 30. I got some in there in the closet, you know.
Different ones, yeah.
And
Did you
we got a lot of CDs.
did you use Polero a lot?
I
Yeah.
used Polero and, well, that's about the place we recorded.
Did you ever use Bill Soda? Did you ever do anything? You know, he had that little studio in
Yeah, old Bill.
around Bells, but not Bell. Ravenna. Is it Ravenna?
Bill Soda. He's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, he recorded some of our songs,
Yeah.
and he done a good job.
Yeah.
Did he live way out in the country, north of Bonham? Or, yeah, north of Bonham, Ravenna,
Yeah, it was.
off of it?
It was way out there
I was trying to
somewhere.
remember the name
Because
of that town.
there's a place there now that has music once a month.
Okay.
And,
Oh, I know where you're talking about.
yeah,
They call it an opry. I didn't know it was still
yeah,
going.
but it's just their living room.
Yeah.
And they line up chairs, everybody sits down, they bring these people in, they'll play
Right.
good music.
Right.
We were out there one night,
I played there before.
did you?
Yeah, if it's the place I'm thinking.
We were there one night, and this guy gets up, and he comes walking through the living room with a rifle in his hand, and he goes out on the back porch and shoots his hog. That was out in his pasture. Didn't hit him.
Yeah. It was fun, but it didn't pay anything. There was no money in it. It was just
Money
fun.
that they gathered
thing.
up.
They kept trying to get it.
Back
Go
in my
on.
day, I used the same people over and over for 50 years, and the reason is because I never interfered with what they were doing. I would make sure that we was playing on a night that nobody else was playing,
Right,
like
right.
Tuesday, or
Right.
Wednesday, or Thursday.
Right, so they could do their.
And,
Yeah, because I played with Southern Sky and still played with you and different bands that I was in, and I played with. Did you ever know? I don't know how long you've been up here, but
86.
86.
Yeah.
Do you remember? What's his name? I think he finally passed away. Brandon Iron.
oh,
Robert
yeah.
Rowland. Did you ever know? I played.
Was
I
that
played-
the name of the band?
I can't remember the name of the band.
Well, the Brandon-
Randy Mitchell was in
The
it.
Brandon.
The Branding Iron was the club. That was the
Yeah,
club.
it was right out
And
there.
Robert Rowland owned it at one time. I think
Oh,
some
yeah.
different people owned it.
Oh, Robert Rowland, boy.
But Randy and I had a little duo, and we were playing like early happy hour at Courtney's. You remember Courtney's up Gallagher in 91. There's a tire place there, I think. They sell tires, but we were doing that, and then we'd go to the Brandon Iron and play. And he got mad at me because I'm always a hot dog showing out and stuff. And I had a Weedo, that scratching thing sounded.
Scratchy
And-
fish.
Yeah, the
Scratch.
scratching. And I was playing that, and I had a tambourine, and I had and he didn't like anything to take away from what he's doing.
Yeah.
And he went over there and grabbed that Weedo, and he just smashed it on the floor. And he said, I think he said, "You're fired." He said, I'm tired of that stuff. I don't think he said stuff. I think he used another word.
Yeah, old Bill, he was just too one mind. Had a ordinary mind.
What are you talking about, one man?
Robert Rowland.
Robert Rowland, yeah. Well, I saw him, I think he got in pretty poor, he might have got beat up. He got to where he looked like, no, I'm thinking about Tommy. You remember Tommy that hung around us?
Yeah,
What was his last name?
Tommy, I can't remember.
Anyway, it sounds like we've had a colorful life, all those guys.
Yeah,
Tommy's the one that got beat up, I think, and I think he had owned a club at one time, but he got beat up so bad that he didn't really recover from it. I don't remember.
yeah,
I used to see him every once
I
in a while.
heard he got beat up playing with some black guys.
Yeah, he got hurt really bad.
Yeah, they like to kill him.
Yeah.
Ernie Richardson was his brother. His name was Tommy Richardson.
Tommy Richardson, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who it
Well,
was.
he really got beat up.
Yeah.
That was here?
Uh,
That happened here?
yeah, it happened over there on in one of them black clubs on north end of town.
Hmm.
Boy, he ought to know better than to go in there. It was all blacks. Boy, they were mean. Oh, I got a picture. Mr. Cecil Smith, my friend, took all the pictures. They had a shooting over there one night, and this guy, he was black, laying there just laying out. And he had a suit on and everything. It was just dressed to kill. And boy, there he was, just laying dead. Somebody shot him and killed him. Well, they was mean over there.
Tell us about those theaters. You wrote a book about the old theaters.
Oh,
That's the
Denison
State
had 4
Theater.
theaters, but they had more back in the time. And I did a history of them. And I got one book left, and it sold out, and they never did have a second printing. But God, I did one of Gainesville too, you know, and Paris and Honey Grove and Bonham, Kenton, Ohio, Odessa, Texas. Man, I got into them theaters. You know, I was a theater freak when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And them neon lights flashing that big old name out front, I was captured by it. And boy, and I was a cowboy, a Gene Autry fan, Hopalong Cassidy, like that. And when they were on, I had me a camera, and I'd take pictures of them outside the front of the theater, you know, what was playing. And God, I got a stack of them out yonder. I just talked to Gene Autry's place today in California about sending them all my Gene Autry stuff. And we talked a pretty good while, see what they'll pay all the expenses. And they've been wanting all my stuff all these years. But they don't want just Gene Autry. They want to put it in that big old museum out there. And I got Tom Mix and Buck Jones and everybody else in the world out there in my barn. And we've been kind of going down on it. She took over 500 DVDs today down to a nursing home for the old people to look at them. And she took about 1,000 about 2 or 3 weeks ago down to one. And I got to thinking, you know, it's all them old westerns in my day, and I'm 84 years old. And I told them, I said, well, the people in here is about 25, 30 years younger than I am. And I said, they probably won't know who they are.
Oh, wow.
But they were brand new, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That Gene Autry thing, you know, I got in with it early. And I gave them tons of stuff. And they always, every time a DVD had come out, they'd send it to me free. And they took about 1,500, but they took them, and I got every one of them, you know. And I had some that I want to keep. I've got some of us that I got to get to you. You know, that thing we had down there for old Rick, you know, when he was sick.
Yeah.
And that was,
raise money.
yeah,
Benefit, you know, yeah.
Yeah, I'll get all them to you, because we was going through them, and I come across them today, and I'll dig them out. And you might find something on there, because there's a lot of good picking on there.
Yeah, you know that old piano that we used to haul around, that little mini spinet? You know, I gave that to a kid, to Robert Payne, had a guy that he's been tutoring, trying to become a master piano tuner. And he wanted something like that to work on, something small like that to work on. And now I regret getting rid of it, but I just had too much stuff in my house.
Yeah, me too.
You know, and I
This
could,
thing was, we had that thing covered up with DVDs. There was over 1,000 DVDs there 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
And the guy that come and got the thing that they were on was heavy. And he was telling them how strong he was when he took it out. And he went out there and they helped him get it out there on his truck. And we forgot about him. It was about an hour later. He was out there working on his arm. And my daughter told me, said, you just don't try to go. I couldn't go out there. You know? And they've been working on my feet, you know, to.
you're saying DVD, CDs or
They
DVD?
were DVDs.
DVDs of what? Of,
Gene Autry,
Oh,
Roy
okay,
Rogers,
just those,
Hopalong
yeah.
Cassidy.
yeah.
I had the old ones, you know, and I go back, and there's a guy wanted to borrow one. I told him I had it, and Tom Mix, and then when I got sick, he told me to forget it. But I've still got it on my mind, and I'm going to try to find it. And I'm going to just give him about 15 Tom Mix. I'm going to give him all of them that I got. And it's not but about 15 or 20 even available. And he made 300 in the 1915s and 20s.
Wow.
But
You met my son Tony, didn't he? He calls him Antonio.
Antonio.
He's the only person I know that calls him Antonio.
yeah,
And he likes it.
yeah, I called him Antonio. Yeah, I like that. I like that name, Antonio.
That's a cool name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he likes it, and he
Yeah.
loves Billy. Billy's like a grandpa, I guess, or something
Yeah.
to him. He just
Yeah.
he grew up. You know, I mean, Tony was born in '82, so
Yeah,
he
I know
grew up. He grew up around Billy. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah. God, he used to go everywhere with us.
yeah, he'd have his little coloring book or his little sketch pad, and he didn't give us much trouble. He was like a little bar kid.
Yeah.
We carried her in our church or whatever, wherever we were at.
You said,
Mostly
where-
church.
my son's born '82.
Oh,
And
okay.
he
He was
was
at a church up there called Reynold Tabernacle one night, and old Tony was on them bars, and he was laying over there on them, and he went to sleep and fell off in the floor. Oh, that was funny.
we couldn't take Marshall to play.
Mm-hmm.
We put headset, like gun
Mm-hmm.
earmuffs on him, because he'd scream.
Oh, yeah.
We had to keep him outside. We couldn't keep him where the band was
Oh,
playing.
because it hurt his
It
ears.
hurt his ears, and
Wow.
we put earphones on him, and he still screamed. So he wasn't raised around music. Everybody
Right.
else was,
Right.
but he wasn't.
Well, who was, you've met a lot of what I call heavy hitters in the music business. You were talking about Gene Watson and Willie Nelson
Well,
and
that Willie Nelson.
You know, Will Nelson, you would think, I had it in my mind, when we seen him up there on stage, his hair was shiny, he was so clean, but I had it in my mind he'd probably look dirty,
uh-huh.
but he
But,
wasn't, he was so clean
Not
that
what you
night.
would think,
There
yeah.
was a little old girl worked for us at the radio station, old Felicity Jane, and she walked up to Willie and said to him, she said, Willie, said, your hair's a little out of place, and he said, will you take care of it for the night? And boy, she was combing his hair all night. Boy, that was I always thought going and seeing Liberace was the main thing. But when Willie Nelson come that night, boy, that had the town captured down there at Farmer's Branch.
Mm-hmm.
And he pulled in that big old bus of his. And did you know that he had a guy on that bus that looked exactly like him? And I thought he was his brother, but it was just his look-alike. And I guess he was Willie's
Body double.
body double, yeah.
Wow.
But boy, he looked just like him. But old Willie, he stayed with me the night, together, because I had to introduce him to so many people, and they'd
Did you
bring him
ever
up.
go out in the bus?
Yeah, and Wendy went out there. She was out there first, but I had to go out there and introduce him to the guy Dallas, that singer, that's dead now. I forgot his name. His wife's name was Betty, but she was Willie's cousin, and he didn't even know it. He knew it, but he had never met her. And I introduced him to him, and boy, he was there till 3 o'clock in the morning, and that was just about the best. But the best country show I ever seen, and I seen him a bunch of times, was Merle Haggard. And we was down there at Dallas. He put a show on out there on I-35, coming around. And they asked me that Monday, said, Billy, said, was you impressed with Merle? I said, yeah. I said, I was really impressed with Merle, but I said, I wasn't impressed with his band, because I said, I had played with pickers as good as they were. And I was thinking of old Bobby there on piano, and that piano player he had, and Benny with his steel, and they were just better pickers that was playing with me. I thought the sun rose and set in them. I didn't care who they was.
Yeah.
Just like old Johnny Means, he impressed me. But he was just such a good guy that I wanted him in that band. And Cagle was a super picker.
Oh yeah.
He was a super bass man.
Right.
And Buddy Yockey was out of the side on drums. But it was just, musicians were something to me.
I know I'm all over the map here, but do you have a favorite scripture?
Oh, yeah. My favorite scripture is, Jesus said, I am the way. His scripture, he said, I am the way. And he said, no man cometh to the Father but by me. And I tell people right now, they'll say, pray to God. I said, you're wasting your time praying to God. They said, what do you mean? I said, you can't even get to God. I said, he won't even hear you. They said, why? I said, because Jesus said, I'm the way. And what he meant was, I am the only way. No man cometh to the Father but by me. If you want to find God, and you can, you've got to first get a hold of Jesus Christ. Because, see, God created the heavens and the earth. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And just a few scriptures down, it says, the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. Jesus came for you and me. God had already come with the Jewish people. They were his people then, and they still are. But what he did, he created Adam and Eve, and when he blowed his breath into Adam's nose, Adam become a living soul. And then Jesus' mother Mary, she was a soul. And Jesus, when he come about, he sent the Holy Spirit, and God is the Spirit. He sent the Holy Spirit and went into Mary and made her pregnant, and she had a son that is the only living soul and spirit alive. No other baby was born of a soul. No other baby was born as a spirit. It said, what is the difference between the soul and the spirit? The soul is us. He blowed the soul into us. And when we do anything, we are soul. But Jesus is the only one that's part spirit and part soul. Mm-hmm. And he's the only one. He died that we might have life.
Amen.
See, he came and died for you and me. He didn't come and die for the Jewish people. He came and died for you and me and whosoever will. That includes everybody. Black, white, China, Japan, I don't care what it is. He is the maker. He is what died. He died for you and me. He's the only one that ever did it. And he died that we might have life. See, we had life, but Adam and Eve messed it up, caused them to die. That's why people die, because they went against God. But when Jesus come, he said, I bring you everlasting life. Everlasting life. You ain't gonna die.
Amen.
You're gonna be somewhere. Just make somewhere that the Lord's involved. See, I told him I was ashamed to ask the Lord for anything for me now, because he's done so many miracles in my life. Why? 8 months ago, they said I had a cancerous tumor. And they took 30 days. And she was there. When they come back and said, there is no trace of a cancer. But see, and I had about 10,000 people praying for me. And I felt the Lord when he healed me, and I'm healed to this day from that cancer. But what we forgot was that tumor. It's still in there. And I pray about it every day, but it's got me. And I have to hiccup and stuff like that now. But I sleep all right and stuff like that, but
And you amaze me when you answer the phone.
Huh?
Empty Arms Motel.
Yeah.
He hasn't lost his sense of humor or his quick wit.
No.
No,
And he's still same old Billy.
my brain right here feels good, and I feel good across my chest and my arms. But boy, I can't walk a lick. They've been doctoring my legs, and I've been getting up with 2 canes the last couple of days and walking in here. And that's the best I've done in about 8 months.
What are they doing to your legs?
My leg, they just put wax and stuff on them every
Lotion.
day. My granddaughter does.
Okay.
and they do my back too.
There's no wounds or anything. No wounds,
No open sores.
open sores.
Oh, no, no. That's really good.
Yes.
And see, 8 months I went through this, but I've never had one speck of hurt. No,
The doctors is amazed by it.
Yeah, I know. That is amazing.
but I think now that that tumor's got down there where it makes me stop, just for a second and belch. Oh, it's tough.
I want to get a picture with you and Gary and let me